Hey friends, welcome back to my channel, The Organized Soprano, where we talk about all things home organizing, decor, and basically how to love your home. If you are new here, hello, my name is Kay. I'm a professional home organizer and soprano here in the Boston area. And today we're going to talk about some frequently asked questions or comments that I get underneath my organizing videos about organizing. Before we jump in, I want to give a big shout out to today's sponsor, Skillshare. We'll talk a little bit more about Skillshare a little later in the video, but let's get into it. So the first frequently asked question is, what do I do with clothing that you have worn one time, but you don't want to put it back with the rest of your clothing, but you also don't want to wash it either? And I have some good advice for you. I always like to refer to these pieces of clothing as interlopers. They're sort of in between, like you don't want to put them in the hamper to be washed, but you also don't want to put them back with the rest of your stuff right away because maybe you want them to air out a little bit. In working with clients over the years, I always suggest if they have this problem, not everybody does, not everybody wants to have a space for the interlopers, but if they have this problem, to actually allocate space for these interlopers, whether it's like at the end of their hanging rod, they have a special space where, maybe it's like 9 or 8 inches of space for these interloper pieces of clothing, or just a separate space where it goes. But I encourage you not to do throw it on the chair. Everybody's got the chair where they throw the pieces of clothing that are the interlopers. I want to encourage you to actually allocate space in your closet for the interlopers. In our master closet right now, I put those interlopers on the side of my shelving right now. I have some dedicated hooks for those clothes that I don't want to put back into my space right away because I want them actually to air out. If they're things that are dry clean only, or things that I don't wash all the time, or things that I've worn for a little bit, but I just want them to air out before I put them back into the rest of the crowd, I'll let them sit there for 24 hours while they air out or something, and then I'll put them back, or I might decide to wash them. But I do have a dedicated space for the interlopers. Make the space, whether it's the back of the door, you can actually have hangers on the back of the closet door as well, or on the side of the shelving like mine. Just allocate a space for them. Let everyone know why your clothing is there. But I always say dedicate a space for the interlopers. What you do with the interloper after it's been in the middle is up to you. But I always recommend, if you have that issue, just allocate a space for it. Just make a space. No, and it shouldn't be like a really large amount of space, because how many of these interlopers really exist? Not like your whole closet, but just like maybe 6 inches of space. The next commonly asked question is, because I've made some refrigerator organizing videos here on YouTube, and I've actively discouraged, if you live in America, storing eggs in the door, storing dairy and things that expire really quickly, things that go bad very quickly in the door, because the door temperature is fluctuating constantly because you're opening and closing that refrigerator, right? But people are like, well, what can you actually store in the door that's good? And I always encourage people to store condiments, beverages that don't spoil quickly, like we're talking soda, anything that's like really super, it's got a lot of preservatives in it. If you are interested in those fridge organizing videos, I will link them down in the description below. You can go and watch them and educate yourself. My fridge organizing systems are not for aesthetics. They're not for cuteness. They are for science. So just be prepared. It's not cute, but your food lasts longer. Okay? There, I said it. The next commonly asked question or comment that I receive on the videos is decanting dry goods actually worth it at the end of the day? Me, I'm a professional organizer. I always say that yes, it is, but I'm going to say that it really depends on you specifically. I've found that decanting dry goods has been very useful for me because I've gotten them out of the store plastic container that they came from, so I've made sure that they are in airtight containers. This way you are preventing any pests from coming in and taking over the whole thing. I know that we've all at least once, maybe not all, but maybe a lot of us at least once have opened a container of something and found either like pantry moths or some kind of little critter that got in there and, had babies and was all over your cream of wheat or cereal or whatever. I've actually eaten a whole bunch of like pantry moths or like pantry moth larvae. Like I ate like a bowl of cereal with it, and before I noticed that they were in there, because they kind of blended in with the Raisin Bran. And it was not a good time, but it's just extra protein, not going to hurt you, not going to kill you, but it wasn't really, I didn't really ask for it to be part of my cereal, so I didn't want to repeat that. Also, the next thing about decanting is that you're going to be able to see exactly how much is left, especially if you use a clear container. So let's say you're running out of rice. Sometimes you don't realize that if you have like an opaque bag or an opaque container that maybe like, or a box that it came in, and by the time you go to grab it, you're like, oh, I only have half a cup when I really need a cup. So I always like to see exactly how much I have. The other thing is that a lot of the containers that you might want to decant in or invest in when you buy containers for decanting are stackable. So they use up a lot more of that vertical space. And the truth of the matter is it doesn't take long to maintain the system once you set it up. Once you have gotten the containers, you could take them home, you got to clean them, you have to decant everything. Once you do that, it's really easy to maintain your system. When you come home from the grocery store or when you get your groceries delivered, you take the thing out of the container, boom, pour it in, done. You don't have to like do anything sophisticated. It doesn't take any extra time for me personally to decant dry goods as it does to just put them on the shelf and be afraid that there's pantry moths. So it works for me. Once you set the system up, it works really well. However, that's not true for everyone. So I say, you do you. Give it a try if you want, and if it's too much for you to maintain, go back to the way you were. But I think that it's definitely worth trying. It's definitely one of those effortful organizing things that I think is definitely worth it once you set up the system. And that actually brings me to my next frequently asked question about decanting is, how do you know when things expire when you put them in a separate container? I also get questions about people needing the cooking instructions on things like rice, dry cereals, things like that. And I totally understand that. So in the past and at this time, I put these Label Once. Well, I don't think they're called Label Once anymore. I think they're called something else. But the brand was once called Label Once labels either on the underside of the container or somewhere discreet where I don't have to look at it. And when I refill the container, I will reference the expiry date on the packaging, and I will write that in Sharpie, and it's erasable. You can put it in the dishwasher and it won't come off as long as you allow enough time before you've applied. Between when you've applied the label and have stuck it in the dishwasher, it takes about a day to cure sort of on there, and then it's not coming off. But I found that it's a really helpful system. Yes, this is an extra step, but I'm not doing it very much because frankly, I'm going through dry goods pretty quickly, so I don't actively do this a lot of the time. But if you're not going through dry goods quickly, like say flour is something we don't use a lot, I do put the expiry date on the flour. However, on things like rice and things, I use it up too quickly to really worry about it. However, I do the same with cooking instructions. And if you want, you can even like just cut. I couldn't think of the word cut. You can simply cut the cooking instructions off of the packaging and tape them either to the underside or to the back of the container, and then you don't have to worry about it ever again. So that is how I recommend you either reminding yourself of the expiry dates of dry goods or the cooking instructions if you don't remember how to cook the stuff. Because let's be honest, we don't all remember those ratios, those rice to water. Who's got time? The next question I get a lot is, does makeup expire? Like, does your mascara get old? Does your foundation, does your powder get old? And the answer is yes. I myself have a lot of makeup. I love makeup. I actually was at one point a VIB Rouge at Sephora. I was like going crazy. This is like in the 2016, 2017 days when like everyone was going crazy, but I do enjoy a good like makeup moment. So I have, probably more makeup than I need, but makeup does in fact expire. The liquid stuff that you're using, namely foundation, lip gloss, lipstick, expires faster than powder products. There is a little symbol on the back of most cosmetic packaging that tells you when you should probably throw away or get rid of, or when it recommends that the makeup is going to expire and a little symbol looks like a little cosmetic can or package and it opened, and it's going to have a number of either months or years on it to when you should really throw that product away. What I like to do sometimes is write on my makeup with a little bit of Sharpie when I actually did open it, so that I know exactly how long I've had it. Because sometimes you have the makeup and you're like, oh, I love this palette, and you use it for a long time and you don't really realize how long you've had it. So I like to write on Sharpie on my makeup a little. You can't write on all your makeup, but you can write on a lot of your makeup. But generally you can tell when makeup has actually gone bad. It will change in texture and it will change in odor. This is especially true with lipstick and foundation and concealer, things that are very liquidy. It will also change in consistency as well. So if your makeup smells bad, do not use it. It probably is growing bacteria, especially if you put your finger in it regularly. I would definitely go to Sephora or CVS and buy a new foundation. But makeup, yes, does in fact It's inspired. Makeup does in fact expire. Even powder, foundation, even loose powder, it all expires. So just be wary of the packaging, the little symbol at the bottom of the packaging. It's kind of a loose time period. Just use your best judgment. I've had powders for much longer than they have indicated on the back of the packaging. Just use your best judgment. If it smells bad, if the texture is different, just throw it out. Especially with mascara, anything that goes in your eyes, those usually don't last longer than a few months. So, go out and buy yourself a new L'Oreal mascara. The last frequently asked question I get on my channel is, how do you become a professional organizer? And I need tips for marketing and all kinds of things. Those are really great questions, and I'm so excited that a lot of you really want to help people organize and help people love their homes. I will put a link down in the description below. I will put a link down in the description below with a video that I shot with Jen Obermeyer. Jen Obermeyer runs Pro Organizer Studio, and she is the expert when it comes to setting up an organizing business, and I'm going to send you her way. She is the woman you want to talk to when it comes to setting up an organizing business. And I will do a video actually later coming up that is the top personality traits that you actually want to have if you want to become a professional organizer. So stay tuned for that. Speaking of learning, last year I did so much learning online. I learned all kinds of new skills. I learned how to use Procreate. I learned how to use color grading for YouTube videos. And if you want to learn, let's talk about our sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community where millions come together to take the next step in their creative journey, with thousands of inspiring classes for creative and curious people like me and you on topics including entrepreneurship, cooking, photography, and even interior design. And I am eating up this whole interior design thing. The latest thing I'm enjoying, this Arlen Hernandez class on how to plan your perfect room, because I'm really enjoying this interior design learning journey. I've learned so much from the classes on Skillshare, and this is just the newest one that I've been enjoying, and I think that you will enjoy it as well, especially if you want to learn how to decorate, because I'm not good at it. Anyway, Skillshare offers classes designed for real life, with a bunch of them being short so that you don't have to sit there for hours and hours on a class. You can learn something in as little as 7 minutes. So Skillshare is also super affordable, with an annual subscription being less than $10 a month. Come on, that is so good. The first 1,000 people to use the link in the description will get a free trial of Skillshare Premium membership. Thank you so much to Skillshare for sponsoring today's video and supporting the channel. They are an awesome sponsor. They have been with me for a couple of years now, and I love me some Skillshare. I hope you all are having a great morning, great afternoon, great evening, wherever you are, and I'll see you in the next one.